Words I was not confident I was going to ever say this postseason, but the Detroit Tigers offense explodes. They win game 4 and force a decisive game 5. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Welcome in, welcome all. The Detroit Tigers have forced a Game 5 after a 9-3 victory in Game 4 on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. for Lord knows what reason. This is another episode where I have to refrain from just screaming for 30 minutes, man. That just felt awesome. That was euphoric. I felt like I was levitating over my own body. And I was like gospel music was playing. Like I felt transcendent. Oh my goodness. It just, to see, this is going to sound so ridiculous, to see the Tigers bats hit a baseball was genuinely borderline emotional. Look, man, who knows what happens in Game 5, right? That's the whole point of a Game 5. Who knows? Both teams have a chance, an equal chance to advance to the next round. It's a one-game sample, win or go home, but this is exactly what we talked about at the end of the show yesterday, right? It was all doom and gloom, and I was crying and whining for 25 minutes. And then the last couple of minutes, we talked about, look, even if, or even despite rather, all of this bad baseball we just watched in Game 3, you are still just one win away from essentially forcing a one-game playoff, which is what Game 5 is going to be. The series was not over. One win gets you to a series clinching game. Just one win, and they got it. The bats came alive, and I think that is easily the most important, I think is the word I'm going to use. Maybe that's not the right word, but I think that's the most important part of the victory. This wasn't a 2-1 victory. This wasn't a 1-0 win. This was an offensive explosion at home to force that win or go home Game 5. And I think that's I don't think reassurance is the right word. It's ultimately still one game. I'm not sure everybody's walking into Game 5 super confident that the offense is going to do that ever again. But I think just the maybe, again, confidence, again, is probably not the right word. But just seeing it happen, knowing it's possible, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The offense is not just completely dead. It's not completely silent. They can score 9 runs off of this team. And I know Bryce Miller started and he's got an ERA over 5. A, he's dominated the Tigers his whole career. B, he's only responsible for 2 of those runs. And a lot of those relievers, especially in the middle innings, the Tigers have seen an awful lot of in this series. That was absolutely awesome. So I think that is the part that holds the most weight here. The offense, believe it or not, I'm leaning more toward not. I don't even believe what I just saw. But that's the biggest thing here. You go into game 5 with Tarik Skubal on the mound and knowing that somewhere deep down in there, this Tigers offense can still put up 9 runs if they if everything goes their way. So what went right? Obviously, we will just start by talking about the bats. On my show sheet, I wrote "It's alive" in all caps. I'm not going to do the Frankenstein "It's alive" voice, but like 9 runs in a game. Cleveland, that whole series, the Tigers scored 9 runs total. Okay, and they scored 6 in one game. Seattle, going into this game, in the first 3 games of this series, the Tigers had total scored, you guessed it, 9 runs. They literally doubled their series run total in a game. In a game that's only obviously a quarter of the amount of games they've actually played. And one of those went into extra innings. We talked about it last week, man. Or this week, I guess. Earlier this week. Last week, I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? The Tigers offense needed to either hit with runners in scoring position, which they have very notably not done the entire postseason, or they needed to combat their inability to hit with runners in scoring position by hitting some home runs and having a power stroke go through the lineup. How about both? It is so beautiful. The Tigers went 4 for 8 with RISP, and I think they were 4 for 6 at one point in the 9th inning. And they hit 3 home runs. I think they only had, 2 home runs in the postseason? The Dingler one in Cleveland, and then Kerry Carpenter's, am I missing? Maybe there was one more in there I'm forgetting. But, like, that is just so beautiful and so wonderful to know that is still somewhat on the table, even if remarkably unlikely. Javi, hanging slider, smoked it. Gleyber Torres, classic. After I bash Gleyber's power, he hits a home run, a tale as old as time. And then Riley Greene with an absolute missile. That is legitimately one of the hardest hit balls of the postseason in baseball. The bats are alive in this ball game, and we will gladly take that. Every single Mariners pitcher through 7 innings, and obviously the Tigers didn't bat in the 9th, so they only have 8 innings of work, of sample here to deal with. In the first 7 innings, every pitcher that took the mound gave up at least 2 runs, actually. I was going to say at least 1 run, at least 2 runs. The only pitcher that didn't was Luke Jackson at the very end of the game there. Luke Jackson should be familiar to a lot of people here. You had Spencer Torkelson with a couple of hits. You had Zach McKinstry with a few hits. Zach McKinstry, 3 for 4 with an RBI. Dylan Dingler with an RBI double. Gleyber gets on base 3 total times along with the home run he hit. Jahmai Jones, huge pinch hit. Huge pinch hit, RBI hit in this ball game. Winsel Perez, who's struggled mightily, been one of the coldest hitters in baseball since the start of September, gets a double in this ball game. Javi even, obviously we already talked about the home run a little bit, but even before the homer, he had an RBI single and had a productive out. It's a miracle. He had an RBI fielder's choice, okay, where he beat out a ball to first base and it scored the 9th run of the game. Like, just even that, the bar is so low. The bar is just so low. And hopefully with Tarik Skubal on the mound, the bar doesn't have to be 9 runs to advance to the ALCS. You just needed this one, man. You needed this one to give yourself a chance. And they gave themselves a chance in a really big way. The Okay, I have a few more things I want to talk about with the offense, and then let's go to a break now, and then we'll get to the pitching side of things as well. We'll do both of those right after this. First, though, going to talk to y'all about our friends over at Rougiette. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiette Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. So if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to RUGIET.com to use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off of your first order. That's Rougiette.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure you use our code so they know that we sent you. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2. Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, make us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow previewing this winner-take-all Game 5. Talking about this 9-3 victory in Game 4 before we get ahead of ourselves here. The thing is, the at-bats weren't significantly different, I didn't think, from the start of the game to the end of the game. In the first half, there was no run production. In the second half, there was all the run production, right? They scored in every inning after the 5th, including the 5th. It's just they finally got rewarded for, well, I don't want to make it sound like bad luck. They were not putting good swings on the ball in high leverage counts. They finally were, right? They finally were working the count with a purpose. That's been a thing the entire postseason, really. Like they've had pitchers have high pitch counts and get pulled relatively early, but they don't score any runs off of them. They don't do anything with the pitch, the one pitch you get maybe every at bat that you can actually do something with. And they finally did. They finally worked the counts and made solid contact and hit the ball hard rather than, again, weak contact or honestly just swinging and missing and getting a strikeout once the count got 2 strikes. So, I mean, speaking of that, the Tigers only had 3 strikeouts the entire game as a team. Dylan Dingler 1, Gleyber Torres 1, Kerry Carpenter 1. That's it. Those are all the strikeouts for this game. I never thought I'd see the day. They were shut out through 4. They kept applying pressure. The approach this game, I thought, was, again, from the start, was much better than we saw, certainly in Game 3. And the at-bats didn't need to change. They just need to actually take advantage of the hittable pitches that they got in those competitive at-bats. No strikeouts, balls in play, and power. I mean, just beautiful. Beautiful execution all around. Pitching also needed to be good in this game, and it was. Casey Mize, 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. His ERA in the postseason is now 3. I thought he was great, to be honest. I also understand why AJ pulled him and have zero negative thoughts or connotation toward that decision. You want to play the matchups as soon as possible in an elimination game. And I think Mize, again, I thought he was great. I have zero complaints. The fastball was lively. The splitter was wonderful, man. 90 miles an hour, a ton of swing and miss. They were swinging over the splitter literally the entire outing. 6 strikeouts in 3 innings is pretty remarkable. And the slider was good too. He has different variations of his slider. But in this one, it was more of like a cut almost than it was a full slider. And I thought that it was very effective, especially backdoor to lefties. He was brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, the command got away from him a little bit there as the outing went along, but I understand everything about this. I agree with the decision to pull him, even if immediately after, it looked a little ugly because Holton struggled. And I also think that he did his job and did well. Now the Tigers are going to go play for a chance to represent well, they're going to go play for a chance to play for the AL pennant. Kyle Finnegan, I thought, was solid. 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, no strikeouts. He entered this ball game bases loaded, no outs, got a double play, and then pitched another inning after that. So we will gladly take it, even if the final line isn't the sexiest thing in the world. How about Troy Melton mania? Okay. Troy Melton, 3 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He is going to be so good, man. That was a brilliant performance. Big innings at this point in the series as well. I am just so happy for him. Was hitting 100 miles an hour pretty consistently. And the thing that made me tear up, okay, in a good way, was the usage of the splitter. This is something, if you go back and, remember Melton's first outing at the majors, maybe his second outing in the majors, we talked about on this show, like, if he can utilize that splitter, because he didn't throw it very often, if he can utilize that more often, that paired with an 100-mile-an-hour fastball is going to be unhittable. And we didn't see it, necessarily a boatload or anything, but we saw it a little bit more in this outing. And it was very effective and got a couple of swings and misses. Just amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The defense was much better in this game. Big double plays. Torkelson was scooping the heck out of the ball over at first base. There wasn't any stupid errors. I thought Dylan Dingler was solid behind the plate. This was such a change of pace from game 3, man. And it needed to be, right? Or else your season was over. Oh, my goodness. They needed this so badly. And we're still in season. We're still in season. What went wrong? Not a whole lot. Tyler Holton, as I already mentioned, did not record an out, loaded the bases, and then dipped. Not a great outing. Not the type of performance you want from one of your higher leverage relievers in the postseason. He has been a lot better lately. But this obviously wasn't good. And they will need him at some point in game 5, I'm sure. Unless Skubal just goes Skubal mode and just throws like 7 or 8 innings of shutout baseball or whatnot. But like, they're going to need, this is their best left-handed reliever. This is, I guess I say that because of track record. Brant Hurter's been great against lefties. He's also been really poor against righties. So take that with, however you interpret it. I think Holton's going to be another guy that, again, they will have no issue going to in game 5 if needed, but hopefully he doesn't look like that. The offense, the first 4 innings, is really the only other thing you can point to, I think. They didn't do much, but they didn't look overpowered either, right? Like, again, they didn't strike out. They had 3 strikeouts the entire game. They made some adjustments the second time through the lineup, obviously, and it worked. And I think this is also important, and then we'll head to another break here and get to stuff. I think that this is worth noting. These guys have seen the same, by and large, the same Seattle relievers in almost every game. And I think that matters to an extent. Now, obviously, you avoid, like, Bush and Munoz in this game. You avoid the 2 biggest leverage relievers in this one because there was no reason to throw them from the Mariners' perspective. But these middle relief guys, you've now seen, at least 2, if not for some of them, even 3 times already in 4 games. And that's a lot of pitches. That's a lot of pitches for middle relievers, and that's a lot of looks that these batters have now gotten at these guys in a very short amount of time. Hopefully that is a correct statement, and they can go in and hit the bullpen well in game 5 as well. Okay, let's talk stuff. Kind of just going to riff about where we're at and what we can expect going forward, and we will do that right after this. Got to talk to you all about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, well, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is actually the price you pay. The app is super simple. I could see even the exact view from my seat before I bought it. And you, again, most importantly, you know your total up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. What a ride. What a roller coaster ride this entire second half has been, man. Yeah. It's been very hard not to ride that roller coaster to an extreme level. It's tough. It's tough. But again, I think that this win is almost, at least in the moment, has the feeling of being a little bit hopefully different because it was actually a win because the offense showed up in such a big way, which we literally have not seen the entire postseason, maybe even like the last month of baseball played, regular season included. You got Tarik Skubal game 5. At the time of this recording, which is pretty much immediately after the game, the Mariners have not yet announced who their game 5 starter will be. I mean, I'd imagine it's Castillo, and then maybe it's just like a short leash situation where they're going to use a lot of different pitchers. I'm not sure, but that would make sense to me. It's win or go home. And say what you will about this team, most of the games this postseason have been pretty close. I mean, game 3, obviously on yesterday's show, I literally talked about how uncompetitive and not close game 3 was. But outside of that game, I mean, you're talking about what math? 5 games that were pretty close, throughout most of them. I know game 2 in Cleveland, the final score ended up not being close. But that's because the floodgates opened late. It was a tie 1-run ball game for 7-8 innings or whatever it was. So say what you will about them, but they don't go away easily, man. And the collapse happened. Okay, nothing is going to excuse not winning the AL Central this year. Somehow, some way, they found a way to be that bad in the last 6 weeks of the season. That happened. Cleveland happened. Yet here we are. Here the Detroit Tigers are a win away from the ALCS, despite all of that. And I think that counts for something. Now, it'd be nicer if they didn't put their backs against the wall every single opportunity they have, and they actually just played well consistently or early. But here we are. And now we get to see if this was, I don't know, more of a one-game fluke of offense, or if this really is maybe the return of this Tigers team from the first 100 games. And when they were hitting, I mean, least we forget, when they were firing on all cylinders and had the best record in baseball, 90, 100 games into the season, they were one of the 5 most productive offenses in the sport. They were hitting with RISP incredibly well. And they were genuine threats 1-9 in the lineup because they were all league average or better hitters. Now, a lot of that is Riley Greene had an OPS around 900 before his collapse in the second half as well. He hits a home run in this ballgame. So we get to see if this is a fluke or if this is the return to what we had seen earlier this season. Because if they do, and they end up winning game 5, Skubal pitches well, the offense shows up again, then the outlook, I think, on this whole playoff run really changes. The flip side of that is if it is just a fluke and they're going to go out and get shut out and go 0 for 27 with runners in scoring position in game 5, well, then that answers that, and we're in the offseason. You have one more game to play if that's the case. I think in this series, the Tigers have also done a fantastic job of limiting offense from players not named Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, or Polanco deserves to be in that conversation as well. Obviously, had the 2 home runs off Skubal. And that's a good thing because this is a deep lineup. Josh Naylor just got his first hit of the entire series in Game 4. Randy Arozarena has been, playoff Randy that everyone's been talking about since he was in Tampa, has been very quiet this series. Eugenio Suarez had the home run, obviously, in Game 3. Outside of that, has been pretty quiet at the plate. They're going to need to. They don't have to keep this offense down for 162. They need to keep it down for one more day. Seattle was up 3-0 in the 5th inning. They were 4 innings away from moving on to the ALCS. And now they're on a plane flying back to Seattle and have to face Tarik Skubal again for what is essentially a 1-game playoff. Game 5. Look, man, I mean, I'm not going into this thinking like, oh, Skubal's on the mound, so it's, the Tigers are going to win. That'd be ridiculous. Tarik Skubal has not started a game in which the Seattle Mariners have won yet this season. Is he 0-3 now on the year? He's at least 0-2. Like, look, man, this is Skubal's going to be ready. Okay, he's going to be ready. This is what he lives for. He has a sub-2 ERA in the postseason this year. He's going to be ready. He's going to be great, and 2 thumbs up. Not worried about Tarik Skubal showing up in that ball game. But the Mariners have won every game they have played against the Tigers in which Tarik Skubal started in the year 2025. So this is far from a guarantee. And if they do it again, if they just, for whatever reason, beat the best pitcher on the planet, the second best, whatever you think, one of the best pitchers alive every time they face him, then tip of the cap, man. But there is nobody else in this organization, obviously, that I would rather give the ball to. There's probably nobody else in the American League that you would give the ball to. And I think there's a legitimate argument there's no one else in baseball you'd rather give the ball to right now for this baseball game. Off day Thursday, you play Friday for a chance to make the ALCS for the first time since 2013. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow previewing the winner-take-all Game 5. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.